So y'all, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And I am in the same shirt because I did what? Book recorded these intros because who ain't have time to be changing clothes and all that good stuff. Y'all know I ain't here. If you've been here, you know I ain't here. If you new and you just catching these lives, what's up, y'all? My name is Kay. And I come to the internet every morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to help my other fellow creative entrepreneurs understand how to put some strategies in place to help them make more money online. And right now, currently, I am on vacation. So these videos that you are watching are pre-recorded. Some of them are throwbacks and some of them I actually took time to record before I left so that we could keep that momentum going. We just came back to these internet streets about 2 weeks ago now, and I just didn't want to lose the momentum. So me being committed to you, I wanted to make sure that you had some content to consume and some work to do while I was gone because I'm that kind of coach. All right. So yesterday we talked about your mindset and how you should be thinking as it relates to your content strategy, you know, what it's going to take in order for you to be consistent in this content game. So today I want to start the conversation around how to create content in bulk. One of the things that I do not encourage with anybody new to any type of behavior is to take on a new idea and to try to do it over a long period of time, like a year. So instead today, we're fading back to a conversation that I had a couple of years ago when I first got introduced to this idea of the 12-week work year, where it's the same principles apply as far as the strategy in managing your year by the quarter, but we're actually going to break that down into how you can manage your content strategy by the quarter to help you accomplish real goals, okay? This conversation was actually inspired by a client that I was working with at the time, so you'll hear me talk about her in the video. And there is a book that I'm actually thinking we should go through in the K Club as kind of like a book club type of situation, because this will not only help you in your content strategy, it will help you in the way that you run your business. If you're in the K Club, drop down in the comments and let me know if you think that'll be a good idea after you've watched today's video. I'm thinking that we might need to book club this thing and work through it to help with defining some business practices. But today, we're going to use the inspiration behind the book in helping us create a plan that is going to help us be consistent block by block, quarter by quarter in 12-week chunks. So if you're ready for that kind of conversation, be sure you got your pens and your papers, okay? Be sure that if you want to know how to execute this, that you head over and check out the K Club after today's conversation. Remember, that's my vault, guys, where I offer some additional coaching. The folks that are in there right now are working on some assignments in how to outline their first digital course and how to actually, what is the other assignment I left for them for spring break? Why can I never remember? Oh, how to set up their business services so that they're in packages that are easy to translate and fit any type of buyer that might come to you, whether you're money strapped or time strapped. We're going to have something for you. And there's some content in there that teaches you how to structure yourself in a way that helps you execute in that way. If you want to know about that program, you can head over down to the link in the description or click through to the link that's here on the screen. Right now, access to that club, because it is brand new as of a couple of weeks ago, is only $7 a month, but that's only through the end of March. To get access to those savings, you just want to use the code March25 at checkout, and that will give it to you at $7 a month for the duration of the program. At the end of March, that price is going to go up because there's going to be content on content on content in there. So be sure that if you wanted, you go grab it now so that you can take advantage of those savings, because they will not be the same at the end of March. But elsewise, if you're ready to think about how you can manage your content by the quarter and actually get some stuff done and know how well it's going to perform for you, let's hop into today's conversation. As it relates to creating your 12-week content plan, I've got a couple of assumptions about you if you're here today, right? Assumption number one is that you're already making content in some shape, form, fashion, and you're looking for a way to improve your efficiency. If that's
correct, then I want you to put some hearts on the screen. If assumption number 1 is correct, and I'm showing this for some folks over on Instagram, they asked to see it. It's just like lined paper. If assumption number 1 is correct, and you are creating content in some form, some shape, some fashion, put some hearts up on the screen. Or just put 1 in the comments. Assumption number 2, if you're operating a business, my assumption is that you appreciate the idea of content creation. That's why you kind of chose to stick around today to generate leads for your business, but maybe you don't know where to start. That's assumption number 2. If assumption number 2 is correct, then put some hearts up on the screen. Assumption number 3 that I have about you today, if you're joining today's live conversation, or even if you're watching a replay, or if you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry, I don't mean to disrespect you guys. Assumption number 3 is that you offer a service, and you offer a variety of services, and maybe you're trying to streamline your processes so you can get better at generating leads and spend less time in your content creation in order to do it. If any of those assumptions are correct, then today's conversation is going to be specifically for you, because this is part 1 of like a series of conversations that we're going to have, because there are several parts to this conversation. But today I want to focus on one particular area, and we're going to talk through it. And then at the end of today, I'm going to give you some homework. All right. I'm going to give you some homework. I know you like, Kay, you assigned homework. I ain't even pay for this. Correct. But I want to make sure that the time that we're spending here in the hour that we go live is amazing for you, and you actually get something from it so that you'll be more inclined to share with your friends and then come back next week when we jump on again. All right. So let's hop in. Let's go ahead and get started. So when it comes down to creating a good content calendar that's going to support any of those assumptions, right? Either you're creating it some way, shape, form, or fashion, you don't really know what you're doing. And all 3 of those assumptions, you really are trying to find a place to start. But when you're creating a good content calendar, I, for one, like to ensure, when we're working with our clients, we like to ensure that it has a few things. All right. Number 1, it has to be targeted towards a specific market segment in our niche. All right. Is a lot of you all coming here a week down your niche. You need to find that thing that you're going to talk about. And that is correct. That's the first part, right? You got to find what you're going to be known for and what people are going to recognize you for and all of that good stuff. That is absolutely correct. But in addition to that, after you have found your niche, in that market, there are several different markets that live within that niche that you have to speak to. So as a service-based business, you may have several different business offerings that you have created, and they serve different market segments on any given basis, right? So in order to create a 12-week content strategy that is highly efficient, we have to focus, and we got to get super, super focused, okay? And a part of getting super, super focused is that we have to focus on one segment of our market, all right? Not everybody. We can't talk to everybody. We got to focus on one segment of our market. And the way that we do that is we focus on, which brings us to the second thing that we want to make sure the content strategy has, is we focus on creating a community in this 12-week period that is built around one issue that segment is dealing with. All right. So not only do we understand our niche, not only have we said that we are only going to focus on this particular segment of the niche, we're going to focus on one problem. That's it. Like, we're going to get real stupid simple with this. One problem, one segment. All right. In addition to that, once we've determined who the market segment's going to be, what problem they're facing that we're going to solve for this 12-week period, we're then going to make sure that we have a single lead generation tactic in place in order to capture information for people that we might be talking to that are not necessarily ready to buy right now. Because in every audience that you're talking to when you're creating content, you've got two types of people. You got people that are ready to go right now, and you got people that are still trying to figure out what their problem is and what services are out there to help them solve their problems. So before you can go out and generate any sales, you want to be able to capture both parts of that audience. You want to capture the people that may not necessarily be ready yet. And then you also want to capture, which leads us into the final element that we make sure our content strategy has, is we want to also make sure that we are leading into a single service in our book of services. So we're not trying to sell everything. We may have 4 or 5 different ways that we can help you, but our goal in a short 12-week period is to make sure that we are simplifying our processes, simplifying our message so that the single audience with the single problem knows for sure that we're talking to them and knows how they can either become a part of our world, go deeper in our community, or take us up on our services. That's all we want to accomplish in a 12-week period. If we simplify this, I know a lot of times the rebuttals that I get, the pushback that I get is, well, what if I got other services that I can offer as well? I agree. You will have other services. Just because you're not campaigning for those services, and we call this campaigning, just because you're not campaigning for those services do not mean that they don't exist or that you can't offer them. All we're saying is that we're going to create campaigns that we're looking to drive results for a particular part of our business. This helps us increase the amount of customers that we receive. This helps make it easier for us to create content because we don't have to try to figure out how to create content that serves 5 different goals. We simplify it. And then once we've simplified it, then we create a plan of action that is going to help us support creating content that educates, inspires, informs, and does all of that good stuff in a 12-week period so that we can increase our revenue. All right. So we found that when we take the time to deploy these strategies, we not only fill our services a lot quicker, but we also build a highly targeted audience of people that are not just for right now. Because, you know, business-wise, we could talk more about that later. But if you are doing this correctly, a lot of times you can find people that you can start in a particular place and transition them into the next level of your services. So when we do this the correct way, and we have our services created the correct way, and we create content to support those services the correct way, we increase our efficiency, we increase our bottom line, which causes less stress in our business. It is less time that we have to create in trying to figure out what to create, and we get better plans. All right. We get better results. All right. So in this 12-week strategy that we put into place when we're creating content, there's a few things that you should be planning for, because the 12 weeks, while it is execution, it is also planning. Without a good plan, none of this is going to work. All right. So the 3 things that you want to have in place and you want to plan for when it comes down to your content creation is your traffic source, a system to capture leads and automate as much of the communication in your sales process as possible on your behalf, and then a simple process for potential clients to sign up for your services. We got to plan for those 3 things. All right. So in this conversation, as we go through talking about how to create a 12-week content strategy, I want to kind of focus on all 3 of those areas, but we don't have enough time in the time that we have today to go through all 3 of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on one at a time. So over the next few weeks, we're going to break down each one of these ideas so that you could be working independently to ensure that you are following a strategy and have the tools and resources that you need in place in order to help you see results in 12 weeks. All right. So in order to make sure that this plan works, we don't start at the top. So you remember I told you had to have a traffic source, you got to capture leads, and then you got to, have a simple way to create sales. So in order to have a simple way to create sales, we're going to start with the end in mind and work backwards. All right. So today, we are going to start with the sales process. because the sales process, generally the onboarding of your sales process takes a little more planning because that's operational, right? So in this 12-week period, you got to look at the operations for your sales process to ensure that you are set up in a way that is going to support your content outreach goals that you're going to be doing online. So in order to do that, let's start with the sales process, because we don't ever want to start with the traffic plan, because the traffic plan will match whatever our sales process is going to demand from us. So our sales process will determine where we're going to go and get traffic from. All right. I know you ain't heard that before, but just stick with me a little bit. I promise you we'll get there. All right. So let's start with the end in mind. All right, let's start with focusing on our sales process today. And this is a good time, if you don't already have a pen and paper, to go and grab one, because this is the note-taking time. And if you are anything like me, you probably want to grab one of these. The link is in the description of the video, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all those places. Instagram, the link is in my bio. When you click the link for the Facebook page, you probably want to grab one of these. This might be a good idea to have when we get together live on Fridays. All right. So as it relates to your sales process, let's think about some things to consider. First thing I want you to consider is how many clients will it take for you to reach your goal? All right. What is the number that you want to get to in this 12-week period? And how many clients will it take in order for you to reach that goal? All right. Second thing that I want you to consider is, do you have the capacity right now, if nothing changed? If you go out online and this 12 weeks works and you know how many clients it's going to take you in order to reach your monetary goal, do you have the capacity in order to serve those clients? And this is important. All right. It's one thing to say, I want to make $50,000 in the next 12 weeks and I need 5 clients in order to do it. Okay. That's a $10,000 service for 5 clients. What does it take in order to execute on that service that you're trying to offer? Do you have what it takes in order to do it? And I want you to be honest with yourself, because a lot of times we'll have these, really nice goals. They sound good, but the reality is that sometimes we are not ready. I know a lot of times I'm working with clients, and the reason why they aren't creating content, and this is words verbatim, Kay, if I go out and do that, I don't know how I'm going, and it works, I don't know how I'm going to offer the service. Maybe you need technology. Maybe you need human resources. Maybe you need the assistance of hiring, maybe outsourcing some of the work that you're doing in order to be able to accomplish your goal. If you can identify how much work it's going to take you in order to get to this number that you're trying to reach, you should also be able to identify what you're going to need in order to do it. This is a great time to start looking at opportunities in your business, because if the opportunities are present right now, it makes no sense for us to go out and create traffic for your business and do what we're going to be doing over the course of 12 weeks in order to create visibility for you if you are not prepared to capture and maximize on those people that are coming in. Because the worst thing you want to do is make a terrible first impression. When we start talking about 12 weeks worth of content, we're going out and reaching an audience of people that is not familiar with us. For some people that are familiar with us, that have been around our business, that already, kind of trust us, sometimes it's a little easier to get by with mistakes with them. But this is all about first impressions, and this is all about making sure that you are showing up in the most highly efficient manner possible. And in order to do that, you got to have your ducks in a row. So we're going to have hard conversations in the beginning to make sure all of those ducks are in a row, because if they're not in a row, we're going to spend 12 weeks before we go live getting those ducks in a row. All right. The 12-week content strategy is not something that can just be implemented with no effort. We got to plan for this. All right. So number 2, I can't speak to it enough. You have to make sure that you are in a position to handle the amount of clients you want to serve. And when you set your goals, I do not want you to limit yourself. Right. I don't want you to look at what you don't have. I want you to be honest with yourself about what you don't have, but we're going to figure out a way to get to where you need to be. All right. So Once you've identified how much money you're going to make and how many clients you need to serve in order to get there, and you've identified the gaps in your business and you've identified what they are, this does not mean you fill those gaps. You just know what they are, because these are things that we have to plan for, right? Then we are going to look at whether or not we have a clear-cut process for onboarding new clients easily. All right. A part of making a good first impression is making sure that it is easy for somebody that is ready, right? You got two audiences of people that we're here serving, and we're going to address both of those audiences right now. But for the people that are ready, you don't want to turn them off because it's hard to get in contact with you. It's hard to sign up with your services. I can't tell you how many times I have reached out ready to hire somebody to do something for me, but because there is no clear, defined path on how I pay you, I don't. I move on and I go find somebody else that it's a little bit easier to get in contact with. And this does not always mean that the other person offers a better service. Sometimes it's just easier to work with you straight out the gate. I give you an example. This is going to be funny, but this is how I feel, right? So we moved to a new city a couple of years ago. And in this instance, I didn't have any choice, right? I had to roll with it. Now, I come from Houston, which is fast-paced. Technology is what it is. You know, we're able to rock and roll, shake, do what we got to do. Well, when I got to this new city, the new school that we were going to was not as fast-paced as what I was used to. Technology was not their strong suit, and it was a struggle bus to even get my kids enrolled in schools. Daycares were hard to get in contact with. We chose a daycare for our, at that time, toddler, she might have been an infant, because it was easy to enroll her. It was easy to communicate with the school, not because the school was better. We visited a lot of schools, but we made our decision based off of the ease of process of getting our kid into the school. Now, did she stay? No. She got sick a couple of times. You know, the vid came around and I snatched her. She's been home ever since. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we make our decisions based off of how easy it is for us to get there. I need ease of use. I need to be able to ask questions, get the answers to my questions, start the process of maybe talking to you, pay whatever invoices I need to pay. I need that easy. And if it's not easy for somebody that is ready to go, then they will do just like I do, and they will go and find the next daycare. Just because it's easier, not because it's better, okay? So you don't want to be the daycare that a mom looks over because your processes are hard, because you don't answer the phone, because you don't respond to emails in a timely manner, because there's no way to book some time on your calendar in order to talk to you, because I can't pay your invoices online and I got to pay you cash, check, or God forbid you accept some type of cash app or something like that. You don't want to be that business. I'm not knocking it when you first get started, but I'm talking about taking it up a level. I'm talking about using 12 weeks out of your year in order to meet some ridiculous income goals so that you can free up time in the rest of your year to either do it again or do whatever you want to do. We're moms, we're wives, we're busy. It's the summertime. I enjoy not having to do a lot of lifting in the because most of year at the year, spring, they're leaving, and in the fall when they get ready to go back to school. There's a method to the madness, and you want to make sure that your business is set up in a way that meets the madness, okay? So don't be the daycare to be passed up, all right? And then finally, some things that you want to look at is, do you have a lead generation process in place for the people that's not ready? All right. A lot of times as business owners, we focus our energy on the people that are not ready. But I want to present something to you today. Okay. And I'm going to ask you to think about this because I think that this is important when you start to think about how you market, how you spend your resources marketing, and how you spend your time marketing. Imagine you had a potential customer base of 10 people. Let's just call it 10 to keep it small. Right? And out of those 10 people, 2 of them were ready to go. That's 20%. That's about what you can expect, right? So 2 of them are ready to go, but the other 8, they aren't ready yet. So you got 10 potential clients in front of you, and you only move forward with 2. meaning you only have the system in place where they can sign up for your service, you have their contact information, so on and so forth. They've paid you. So what happens to the other 8? Do you, as a service-based business, want to allow the other 8? Do you want to rely on the possibility of them maybe coming back? Or do you want to have an infrastructure in place that increases the likelihood that they will come back, that you can continue to nurture the relationship automatically on your behalf, answering questions, inviting them to go deeper in your community, making sure that they understand how you work, keeping in touch on a regular basis. So when they are ready to move forward, you become top of mind for them because you've done the work and you really didn't even have to do a whole lot of work because this was automatically happening. And now instead of having to go spend marketing dollars to reach 10 brand new people, maybe you spend a couple of weeks nurturing the 8 people where you can book, 3 or 4 more. So now you spent less effort dealing with the same group of 10 people than what it would take you to go out and find a completely new group of 10 people. So let's say it cost you $100 to get the initial 10. Most times you will come to me and say, okay, Kay, in order for me to get another 10 so I can close 2, I need to spend another $100 to go get in front of a new 10. And I'm going to come back to you and say, oh, that's wrong. That's not right. You don't need to spend another $100 to go get a new 10. You need to make sure that when you spend the initial $100, you have an infrastructure in place that'll capture the other 8 and spend some time creating some systems that follow up with that 8 and close maybe another 3 or 4 of those 8 before you spend another $100. So now instead of $100 to close 2 people, you spent $100 to close 6. So you've closed more people, made more money, and spent less money in order to get those 6 leads. Am I making sense? Does that make sense? As a business owner, I'm looking to control my expenses. I'm looking to capture the most amount of clients that I can capture with the least amount of effort and money. So if I can switch my thinking to say, I'm going to focus my 100 on this 10 and have systems in place that work the other 8, I'm going to save myself money. I'm going to save myself time and I'm going to make more money. And that's what this 12 weeks is all about. All right. This matters because this is going to keep you out of that content creation burnout, right? A lot of times when I'm working, with clients, they are tired. They don't know where to start. They are super afraid. They've tried it in the past before, and they have found that this content thing starts to become more of a burden than a joy. I love making content. I love spending time with you guys. I love showing up on a week-to-week basis. I look forward to the end of the week now because I know that I'm going to spend an hour talking to some business folks, helping them get their life. And at the end of the day, that's going to do a lot for my business. And all I have to do is show up maybe an hour a week, and my systems will handle the rest for me. Now, content creation is not a burden. It's something that you work into your workflow, right? You can specify the time where you're going to do it, and you can expect a particular amount of results based off of longevity. Do you have to be consistent? Of course, right? If I was being flaky and I wasn't showing up on a weekly basis, you may not trust me. So consistency is key. Does it take a little time to rev up your energy to do it organically? Absolutely. But there are some ways that you can get in front of new eyeballs so that it does not take that much time, but you got to make sure the systems are correct, right? So in order for you to make sure that your sales process is in the right place, that's on you. In order for you to make sure you've got some tools in place that'll help you automate some of that stuff, that's just technology. That's making sure you've got the right technology in your business. Now, for you guys and for everybody, I've created an online business toolkit. The link's in the description of the video. You don't have to go right now. Please don't go right now, but I encourage you to go get it. It's free. All right. So as we're spending our time together here, and as we start to increase these live sessions, once the kids go back to school, I'll be coming here kind of talking about these tools, how they work, and showing you how you can apply them to your business. But if you want to see what they look like, just go get the tool. It'll talk about CRMs you can use in your business. It'll talk about ways that you can, tools that can help you schedule content, tools that can help you create content. All of that stuff is in the toolkit. Go get the toolkit, not now, but you can get the toolkit after we leave. All right. So once you've identified all of these things in your business and you know exactly what your sales process looks like, then you can start to work on the next step, which is identifying the lead magnet or the lead source, the thing that you're going to put in place. We call a lead magnet. We won't talk about that today. We'll talk about that next week, but you can start to work on that later. So now, looking at your sales process, you can identify tasks. You can start to project manage, because at this point, you know exactly what needs to be done. And at this point, you know whether or not you're going to do it, or whether you need to assign somebody to do it, or whether you need to outsource somebody to do it. This is a great time to start incorporating some project management tools. Now, I recommend Teamwork. And Teamwork, you can find Teamwork over in the Online Business Toolkit. I'll leave a link to it, or it's linked over in the toolkit. You just go grab that and go to project management and you'll find it. I recommend Teamwork because it not only allows me to project manage myself, but it also allows me to project manage my customers. All right. It's two-way communication, but it don't have to be Teamwork. It can be anything. But what I'm saying is you have to have a tool in place that once you've identified the gaps and you know what needs to be done, you can set a timeline on when you're going to do it, right? We're talking about 12 weeks of content. It don't have to take us 12 weeks to prepare to go live for 12 weeks worth of content. All we have to do is make sure that we've identified what we're planning for, because that's the whole point of today's conversation, right? What do we need to plan for in order to be successful in delivering 12 weeks worth of content that supports our business goals? And a part of planning is making sure that your sales process is in place. And if at any point when I asked you to identify how many clients you needed to reach, can you service those clients? If you can't, what do you need in order to service those clients? Do you have an onboarding system that works? If not, then you need to create one that works. If you don't know how, then you need to get with a coach like myself or somebody else to help you work through that process in creating an onboarding system. And do you have a way to generate leads for your business that you can nurture so you don't have to work as hard to go out and find new people? Right? We want to make the most of the audience that is present with us every single time. And we want it easy for them to connect with us so that if they're ready, they can get started. And if they're not, they have a way to continue to engage with us until they are. Right? And if the answer is, I don't know, or I don't have, or I need this, or, ooh, I might need this, you need to put that into your project management plan and start to assign a day and a time that you are going to accomplish those goals. If you don't know how to do that, remember we talked about, some of you guys are hopping in late, but the 12-week year talks about time blocking. There's a chapter in here, I think it's at like chapter 17, that gives you a really good strategy to identifying when you need to work on stuff. Go get the book. We'll book club it when we go inside of the Her 360 Club. But for now, I want you to go get this book and read it. And then we can talk about it when the club opens in August. All right. So time blocking, making sure that you're using your time in the most effective ways to address the most effective parts so that each and every day you are doing something to help close those gaps in the sales process. And maybe it's a goal that your sales process gaps are closed within a week. You've identified who's going to do it, what tools you need to get, you acquired them, you hired the help to help you get it. So that first week you get your sales process together. Once your sales process is together, and I'm not telling you it's going to only take you a week, I'm just saying that the plan is to identify that in the week and have a structure for how you're going to execute and tackle the gaps in your business. Once you've done that, then you can go into how am I generate leads? Like, I know the market segment that I'm going to be targeting. I know the problem that they're having. What do I have in place that's going to help me generate leads for the people that are not yet ready to get started? All right. So let's recap real quick. We had 40 minutes next week. Well, starting in August, I won't say next week, but starting the second Friday in August, I'm going to leave the last parts of the live open for questions. So the way this will work, and we're going to recap in just a second, but the way this will work is I'll drop a link in the chat and I'll figure out a way to get it over on the Instagram. I'll drop a link in the chat where you can click the link and you can come on live and ask your question. You can have your camera on or off. I don't care, but I'll leave a few minutes at the end of the broadcast where I can answer your questions. Okay. So today, I'm not going to tell you drop your questions down in the comments, anything like that. I'm just going to recap, and then we'll prepare to come back on next Friday to go into the second part of this conversation, which addresses your lead generation. All right. So today I introduced the idea of the whole 12-week content strategy, right? It's the strategy that I named it just because I've been reading the 12-week year, but I've been using this process in my business for as long as I can remember. And the whole idea around creating content to support your business goals in 12 weeks is to ensure that you can isolate your performance and you can maximize your performance in shorter periods of time. It improves your efficiency. It improves the way you focus. It improves the way you are able to execute with your team. Consequently, it drives your bottom line up, which is why you're able to make so much more money at particular parts of the year. It's because your focus increases. So we intentionally increase our focus every 12 weeks so that we can support our business goals. Today, we talked about what you should be planning for in order to have an effective 12-week strategy. Okay. So the assumptions that I had about you guys today was that, one, you were here because you're already making content in some shape, form, or fashion, and you're looking for a way to improve your efficiency. Maybe you're operating a business. You appreciate the idea of content creation. And you're trying to figure out how to use content to truly generate leads for your business. And then the final assumption that I had about you is that maybe you offer a variety of services and you're trying to streamline your processes so you can get better at generating leads. All right. I said in order to be effective at a 12-week content strategy, there were a few elements that you wanted to apply to your content strategy. Element number one is that you want to target a specific market segment in your niche. All right. We all talk about being niche down and making sure that we are addressing like a particular niche. But in addition to that, we go a lot deeper and making sure that we are targeting a particular market segment that lives within that niche. All right. We're going to make sure that in that market segment, we're focusing on one problem and we're solving one problem over 12 weeks, and that we have lead generation tactics in place that are automated, and that we have a simple way to book our services. I gave the example of how we moved down here and we chose our daycare based off of how easy it was to get enrolled, not necessarily because they offered a better service, but because it was easier to get in contact with them. It was easier to take the first step in their sales process. So consequently, they got the business. You don't want to be the daycare that gets passed over because it's hard to work with you. All right. So those are the 4 elements that we talked about. And then we went into what you should be planning for. So we started from the bottom up, right? We're going to reverse engineer. So today is part 1. And in part 1, we focused on our sales process, but we identified that we need traffic, we need a lead generation system, and we need a way for clients to sign up. But in order for all of that to be effective, we first have to make sure our service offerings are in line, because we have to address the idea that we talked about in the very beginning is whether or not you have the capacity to serve these clients should this work, and it will work. So you need to be ready. All right. So that's today's conversation. That's part 1 of how to create a 12-week content strategy. If you hopped on late,
friends, I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I am looking forward to having more of it with you. Tomorrow's video, we're going to go into a few things that you can actually automate in your business. There's 6 simple things that I think every business owner can actually have systems set up for in their business. And it kind of ties into what we were talking about today and making sure that you have a sales process in place. K-Club members, you know, the video I tagged you in on Friday that talked about structuring your business. This is going to be really helpful to do, because it will help you when it comes time for you to start strategically implementing this 12-week process. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and being a part of this conversation, even though I am in flight. I can't wait to see your feedback in the comments. Be sure, if you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, that you have liked this video, share it with some friends, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on the bell notification over on YouTube so you never miss an upload or when we go live. And I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place.